Hey everyone, welcome to day number 13 in the I Wait Project video series with Dr. Michelle. Today I'm reading verse 13 of Psalm 27. David writes, I would have lost heart unless I believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Have you ever felt that way? Like you would have lost heart, that you would have given up, whether on a relationship or on a position or on something that you were called to do that was a little bit more challenging than you expected it to be? I believe every one of us at some time have felt like we wanted to throw in the towel, like we didn't have what it took to make it through to the other side. And David is expressing what we all have felt, right, in this psalm, that we have times when we feel like we want to give up. And hear this, even as people of faith who are in relationship with God, there are some times when you may be tempted to feel like you want to give up on this life of faith. There are people I've spoken to who are silently dissatisfied by what they're experiencing in their life of faith because of what they understood it to be, whether it was a teaching that they held on to or someone else's life that they saw that exemplified a certain type of Christian living. And when they look at their own life and it doesn't match up, they feel like they're not doing enough, that they're not enough, that God's upset with them, and a whole bunch of other things. So God doesn't want us to give up on life. He doesn't want us to give up on life with Him. He doesn't want us to give up on the things that He has asked us to do. And that connects us to the next part of this verse. So David says, I would have lost heart, I would have given up unless I had believed. So when he's talking about believing, he's not just talking about saying something when everything is good and you have the faith to believe, or a mental attitude. But the word that is translated believed really means that something is established and made firm. So the reason why he didn't give up on his walk with God, he did not give up on his life of faith, was because something was made firm, was deeply established in his heart and in his mind. And what was that? That I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, that I would be able to see. Basically, he means physically, but also perceive, that I would know, I would be able to comprehend the goodness of the Lord in my life. Now, it's important that you believe, that you will see, you will perceive, you will be able to understand the goodness of God in your life. Now, what is the goodness of God? I want to bring you over to Exodus, and God has this special relationship with Moses, who is called to be the deliverer of God's people. And this process that God's about to lead Moses through to bring all of the Israelites out of Egypt into the promises of God, the promised land that he had spoken about, they have this relationship, and Moses says to God, please show me your glory. He just wants to see that which makes God who he is. And God's response to Moses was this: I will make my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before you. I will be gracious to those whom I will be gracious, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So when Moses asks to show me your glory, God says, I will allow my goodness to pass before you. So in a nutshell, the goodness of God is everything that makes God unique, everything that makes God beautiful, everything that makes God wonderful, everything that makes God God. We get to see the brilliance of his person. And so when David says, listen, that he would see the goodness of the Lord, he believed, it was firmly established in him that he would see God be God in his life. Do you believe? Is it firmly established in you that God will be God in your life, that he will show you the greatness of his person, the wisdom of his mind, and the depth of his love towards you? The only way we're not going to give up in this life or give up in our walk with God is that we have to come to the place where it is firmly established in our hearts and in our minds, regardless of what we go through, that we are going to see God be God and do only what God can do in our lives. And as David said earlier, He's my light and He's my salvation and He's the strength of my life. Everything that we need Him to be, He is. He is committed to you. He's invested in your potential, and He's with you on the journey to bring you to where He wants you to be.